Continuing on, continuous training. Training when and where you can, a little at a time. And we're going to be transitioning this training into even further training methods. Let's see where we're at. No resistance training yesterday, none today, but I do keep up on my walks, 10 mile walks every day. And I do average, I think I averaged 8.5 miles last week. So we're talking try to go every day, And it is deceiving because my stomach is hurting. That's the thing about the swerve. So that is completely not pumped. Just me doing me. That's where we are from. And yeah, we're trying to work out the camera situation. That's a tricky one, camera situation. But I'm just a really low-key person. And I've been lied about by people over the years, deceived. And like a lot of you, got cancel cultured, had my life destroyed. The quasi-fringe arms of the government turned against me. Things that aren't even the government that need to be abolished, that aren't helping. Like, it would be great if CPS actually helped people, right? If it wasn't evil, if it wasn't linked in with the CIA and everything else. But it is. We think of Central Intelligence Agency and the US Treasury. It's like these aren't even part of the government. They're not part of the constitutional government. They're wings of, they're civil wings, but the Treasury is something even more. It's linked in with a global conspiracy. And if we were to go back and try to do it right, we wouldn't abolish the Constitution, but we would get rid of all wings of the government and start over from a civic sense. And we would allow secession of all states. The votes don't work anymore, but they do work in good faith electronically. I feel sick. Like, that's one thing about the swerve, brown sugar, it makes you sick. your body has a hard time processing it. So, like, I'll take a big heaping tablespoon with my coffee, and then I'll be feeling like crap for some time after. But that's, I mean, you could say, oh, that's not that great, your physique. And it's like, look at what I put into it. Like when I tell you I do this type of walking, I don't go any more intensely. This is it. I've not sweated. When I say sweat equity, yeah, I'm perspiring like everyone. But if you live in Atlanta, or Arizona, I'm living currently in the Central California area. It's a rainy season right now, as you probably are reading on the news. It is March 3rd, 2024, and it usually stays in the 50s, the mid 50s around here. I'm in my mid 50s, and the point is that it never gets uncomfortable. So I haven't sweated. I don't think I've sweated once, like actual perspiring where I had beads of sweat. I think on my walks, because of the clothing I was wearing when I was going outside, I sweated, but it really had nothing to do with the exertion. And I was reminded of that when I would push it even harder here. I'd start to do, like in the past, I was doing some running, some sprinting, jogging, you could say. You could call it sprinting, like. But I really wanted to put to the test, could I just stay doing low level activities like I've always recommended throughout the day? Um, I have some exercises that I do, like this shoulder's really messed up, so I will reach out, I'll do different things. I'll lean back, I'll lean my body back, I'll look up. I've been getting rid of, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm getting rid of this. You can hang on to that. That's mostly water as you get older. So I'll look up for a good 5-10 minutes of my walk, and that area, the water begins to disperse. For a long time, I was thinking, what is that? Is that like fat, or as you get older? But you want to know what that is? That's me looking down at this screen all the time. You'll see that in the past that a lot of people that did a lot of reading, a lot of academics, they get that jelly, and to think that that's mostly water, but it has also, you get fat accumulation, and then your muscles start to shorten. It's just like the things that you go through with your body, with your physiology. The same thing's happening here. So when you get leaner and you can see those mechanics, you can see the droop, you know. So it's also getting blood flow to areas that don't, like, eventually you do want to work in more intense training, but it should be when your body weight is so low. And like I consider it the back door to fitness, because I think even then you could go through a 1-2 mile run and you're sprinting and you're still not sweating. Like uh, I'll be in about 4 pounds, maybe even less than that, 3.5, 4 pounds. I'll be hitting 155 pounds, and I'm 6 feet. I'm a little over 6 foot. Did I ever think that I would be able to get down that low and still have muscle mass and strength, you know? But the point is that I never put my ego into it, and it's been really important. I've been railroaded so much by the people that were close to me in my life, um, that are just avatars for evil. I've had these government wings sticked against me through lies. My ex-wife said that I didn't spend time with my kids, even though I was taking them to school. They were staying at my house. I was buying them food. She said that I hadn't seen them for 5 years. When I went to CPS, and even when I went to see a lawyer, and she had done something so crafty that she filed charges against me, claiming that I was violent, even though I never hurt my kids. I never hit a woman in my life. And she was able to get away with that so that she could collect child support. Like, that's all she cared about was money. And then she lied later and got, I believe, the state to pay for her college when she was like 50 years old. Like, do you know how much that hurts to know? And she's a malignant female narcissist. And to see people like that move ahead and get away with their lives, you know, who was it? Thomas Jefferson, who talked about it's the fact that good people don't stand up. Well, I did. I told people about it. And at that time, people were so jealous of me because I was achieving success in my fitness career just by what you see right here, sweat equity, even though I haven't sweated. But I put the effort out, and I did do a lot of sweating in the past. So, like, how do you win? And how do you, when you have somebody who's sabotaging the principles in your family, and you're a father trying to teach your kids the right way to go, you know? And so invariably you look at yourself in the mirror. If you're a rational, normal person that isn't evil, and you have to really assess yourself and the things that you do. And there's a point where you get to where you've taken on the responsibility over and over, and that didn't help. And it wasn't true. It wasn't really you, me, that did certain things. It was things that were done to me, but more so things that were done through me. And in order to really rectify, which we're not going to get to that place for quite a while, it looks like. I don't know. Something's got to change. Anyway, I do feel a little bit ill. I don't know if it's just really bad air in here. But I got to get some air going. We've got some garbage that needs to be taken out tomorrow night. We'll chill. We'll chill for a few. But as far as my ex-wife goes, is I never was going to even marry her. I had 2 kids, and eventually I would have had to pay some child support, but it was the kind of situation where I didn't love her. How could you love a female narcissist? I mean, it's just really, you get wrapped up with these people when you have a low self-esteem. And I would say that what I realized is you don't even have to have a self-esteem, like that's all bullshit. And that what you respond to when you see Trump, particularly with all this hubris, is just fakeness. It's falsity. There's no way that fat old man has that much confidence in himself. I mean, it's so obvious that his shortcomings and his he's not the best looking, he's not the smartest. His policies are just about making money. They're 100% about capitalism. And people haven't put the thought in intellectually, philosophically, and scientifically, what's going on right now with anti-gravitics, as they call it, from a broader scope, which it really isn't anti-gravitics. It's bypassing gravity altogether, seeing gravity and time and space as a mere construct. And as this becomes widely known in scientific circles, pervading into a larger sphere, our entire world is shifting to where it should have been all along. That even the most assumable laymen, such as myself, can understand this. You never have to reach this point of hubris, that you can get really lean and still be you. Still be you. You can be just a guy in his 50s that's not dreaming of being ultra lean, that is very lean, and never has to go outside themselves to achieve that. And then to start to understand Townsend Brown, stuff that Kurt Jamungal talks about, watching the information, going, hey, I understand this. I get this. And then to look at others that are memifying themselves, like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, selling themselves off, to say, no, you had every advantage in the world, and you saw yourself as superior, and that hubris that led into your narcissism gave you edge. And then when you got in front of people, right, in a intimate setting, you abused the privilege. Even more so, you manipulated democracy that is supposed to be there to set the weakest people that are in weak positions, immigrants, migrants, people who are sexually discriminated and marginalized, people who are not the best looking. And so we're getting to a point where we see that this has been engineered. Like if you knew that stomach down there and those short legs that you have, and that lack of strength in those arms and in your upper body didn't represent you as a spiritual self, but were done to you through engineering, and even more so that they put your spirit into that body, not only through incantation and manipulations through incarnation, but that they were using technology to do it to you on purpose, follow you through your life, attack you. That's the kind of shit that's going on, and that has been going on. That's why these aliens, soon they won't even be calling them aliens, have an aspersion for the esoteric and for the spiritual. Now we know about remote viewing. It's readily talked about, that is a constant and has been a constant for many years. Now we know that there has been travel, the ability to travel. People just have a hard time putting it together. It's like, okay, if you've got these UAPs, UFOs that are technology that has been developed since what? Possibly like 1940s? Way before that. They always lie to us. Even when they have to tell the truth, they lie. It goes back to Alexander the Great. It goes to Thoth and the Emerald Tablets. It goes back further than the Vedas, right? That could be hundreds of thousands of years old, actually. It could go back even further than that. We have been manipulated. Like when we say manipulated, I want you to understand the full breadth and the full, like the things that were done to me were done on purpose. It was calculated. So when you think you're paranoid, think again. Think again. So the traditional, typical way that the narcissist thinks is they're thinking that way. Everybody's out to get me, but you got to understand that's not the main focus. The main focus is that they believed that they were superior and better than you under the paradigm, the construct of accepting the physics the way they were. In other words, they really do think they're God, but they couldn't be further from it. Because I'm going to tell you the secret. I'm going to tell you the secret. I've told you the secret with the carnivore diet that needs to work away from eating animal byproducts and needs to work toward a new, better version of meat that doesn't even need to be called vegetarian or vegan. That tastes superior to meat, has a better amino acid profile, and actually bolsters youth and longevity. Seems like we could do it. It seems ridiculous that we haven't. And even more so for anthrobots, xenobots, and even getting into areas of nanoid technology to be able to store enough constituents in our bodies to recombinate to where we don't even have to digest food at all. We're assisted all the way through that process. The breakdown and the degradation to, on a molecular biological scale, taking real-time data, and we shouldn't have to take any sort of mark of any beast or any of this other bullshit. We shouldn't have to use a cell phone, you know. So what we're talking about is something revolutionary, and that is that what's been used against us is the field itself. It's a binary code, a sequence that's all around us, that the field itself as a computer mechanism, that seems pretty wild, can be reset. That is what CERN is used for, but they've been trying to reset it based on selfish means, and there's a protective mechanism in play. So it really makes you kind of look at long ago and why the war is taking place, that's seen and unseen, is the fact that principles were placed into the field around us, and that purity would be the main principle. And that's how long it's been. All of the strife, all of the suffering has been because one man couldn't step up and say, purity is the most important thing. And then to be able to purify oneself, even though one had committed these sins, had been accused of atrocities. And so the great work, the quest, was to have this occur out of choice, naturally. And once one decided, like a very positive virus or infection, it would spread out, and you would see this mimetic sequence begin, where the Merkaba, the true Merkaba, would be switched on. Not a Jewish Merkaba, something, or Jewish, something that predates any of that shit, right? Any quasi-religion. So that's the time we live in, where it's beyond, it's been Ready Player One, like Ready Player One type stuff that was done hundreds of thousands of years ago. Where we're at now is way beyond that. If it seems like what I'm talking about is really far-fetched, then you need to catch yourself up on things. Because this is the perplexing aspect. I think about all the people who've suffered, and animals. It's almost like we want to use people in a broad sense because we haven't sinned. We haven't been as bad as people like to purport us to be. There's been forces working through us to defame us, to make us appear much worse than we actually are. And when you really look at any situation, you break it down, there's no way out. When your endocrine system's being manipulated, when you think that you're thinking certain things and feeling certain things, and your body is taken over by something else, and that's really what's going on here. Is that our bodies are so accessible to either a computer around the field, in the field, that can access us and make sure that we stay on course to our own destruction, to defame us, right? And what I used to call force bots is these entities, a singular consciousness with a singular goal, which is to keep us subverted, sinning, signing against ourselves, and thereby, having this low self-esteem. Now, I don't have a low self-esteem. I'm practical. I shouldn't have to have a high self-esteem where I place myself over others. I can get shredded and ripped and still be just a guy. I can think deep thoughts and see what's going on and describe it in layman's terms and still just be a guy. I don't have to be a dude. I don't have to sink down to, a frat boy level. I don't have to rise up to, somebody who uses the nomenclature and etymology of ontology, epistemology, or eschatology of the theologians or the academics. I don't have to be a bullshitter. I don't have to suck my cheeks in. I don't have to pretend that I know more and get 3 college degrees that are completely worthless 100 years from now, 50 years from now, maybe 20. So who were you really? Well, I already know who I am. I know what I am because my spirit, my soul is directed. And you're able to fight these things off. You're able to fight it off by where you are now. Your consciousness is always being tracked. And instead of questioning your free will, start using it. You won't question it. It's like something that you don't use and you're postulating going, I wonder if a spatula works. And you're just staring at the spatula. I wonder. And it's like, why don't you pick it up and use it? Nobody says that to each other anymore. It's the same thing with free will. It's a tool. And once you decide to use your free will, you're entered into, when they say an entered apprentice, it's a trick. Right? Because within you, what they want to block out is that you already know the principles. And when I say you, it's a limited few. And really, if you look at the 144,000, that's probably the number. And that's nothing. I mean, the size of one town. One town. Compared to the entire world. That you have those who share certain genetic informations to be part of the family of some that are in the 144,000, but that they are not the 144,000. That just like the human genome, in the 9th chromosome, the 11th chromosome, that there are repeated errors that solidify a certain behavior, make it more solidly an aspect of the practicum of how they will display behavioral patterns, right? And the 144,000 don't need to prove themselves. But what is happening is they are being discounted and washed away into the fodder. And you know that these people are experiencing pain, along with all the animals. You know that they feel enough of a individuality to validate a personal experience. When you break down their personal experiences and the individuality that's taking place, it's not quite occurring rapidly, intensely enough to say you become, to stand up and say I am. Just because someone does that through the course of an action, an actionable deed that they are told to do, and then that they see within the environment, the computer field, the mechanism of this quantum computer, that they feel like an individual, in a millisecond they can feel like nothing at all. So it's a trick to the 144,000, but it's also a trick to all those that aren't the 144,000. So sabotage those who are real, those who have a spiritual self, those who have a soul. Sabotage them, make them think that they aren't special, that they are fucked up, and then bolster those who are false. Bring them up and know that the emptiness within them is going to propel them to want to do that anyway. It's pretty masterful. What would do that? Well, it's something that it only exists because of our lack of completion. I believe it's as simple as the 144,000 coming together. It's the only thing that makes sense. That they were sold out. They sold themselves out. And that with that hubris, so I would say Donald Trump is fake. He's a fraud. And I would say that he has enough of the genetic material in him that there is a real person that exemplifies the hubris that Donald Trump is faking. I use him as an example because he is the disease. He's the infection. It doesn't work. It never works. Look at Andrew Tate. Look at all the people who came out with this cockiness. And you could say, oh, he got targeted. And it's like, no, what happens is he made a claim, several claims, that he's superior, even though you look at him and you know he's not. And then he was called out. He was taken down a notch. And if he really owned it, he'd come back up. But he didn't. Never happened. Never will happen. And pretty soon he'll be even balder. He'll be even older. The thing is you have these people who are playing by the rules, all those who were getting in the ring with a person like Andrew Tate or Mike Tyson. Yeah. And you have somebody who calls upon dark forces with Mike Tyson, and he knows it, and he's cheating because it's not just one man to one man, right? He's invited the rage of a legion, right, behind him, but he sacrificed. And the reason he has such a low self-esteem when he's in interviews is because of this fact that he knows this. And the thing that proves it is when these people have lost those around them, they sacrificed them. In that moment of rage, they sacrificed everything. They would agree to anything. They care about what other people think about them not much, even though they act like that's the last thing on their mind. Their insecurity is welling up. That's how insecure they are around other people. And most everyone doesn't even exist. There's a jealousy for the gods, the Masons, the Brothers Black, and the Emerald Tablets talk about this. That's what Hiram Abiff was killed for, supposedly, how the story goes. Killed for the beauty of who they were and the perfection of who they are. That is forever. That they are trapped here with these worthless people who are just derivatives of them. That they are taking the consciousness of the gods and placing it within a new man, but that new man didn't exist outside of this compartmentalized computer program. That once they left it, they would be leaving the atmosphere, they would be leaving the pond. And the scary thing is that from L. Ron Hubbard to what Chris Bledsoe's son, I can't remember his name, on into Rosicrucianism, what is talked about in modern Christianity, it's all telling you the same thing. So the biggest dupe, I think, is that all these ascetic Jews, all these Buddhist monks who think that they can willingly die are pretty much just exercising a muscle that they could have exercised for a much lesser cost rather than dying underground, breathing through a pipe. Right? This whole samsara, letting go of samsara, that's a trick. Right? That it's only adding to hubris in the next life. That, oh wow, I killed myself and I had this sort of selflessness. It's like, well, you could get there through simple sacrifice. If you've been given everything and you already reached this state and you step down, did you really step down? Did you need to? For what purpose? You know? So I'm going to end it right here. This will probably never be played. I just feel like it's worthless talking to people. It's worthless describing this. That I'm on it. that I understand it, and that it's not something to be broadly broadcast, because it means nothing to you, because you'll never see me as who I am, and you'll never be who I'm talking to. You are not the audience. We live in a false time. People are just mere reflections of the gods, and that there are only so many gods, and that they will always be above you, and that you will be washed away, and you never actually existed in the first place. Does it feel good to tell people that? To know that? To say that this is the galactic religion, this is the religion, and that you've cost me being myself by you thinking that you're a self, but it wasn't your fault because you were created temporarily to feed off, and it took a great amount of maintenance. It took all these drones, these bioorganic drones that are falsely purported as aliens, to interact with us. Wild, elaborate concepts and ideas that may or may not be functionally existent, but it's irrelevant, because that's not the practicum of how things are done. It's just like a sun doesn't need to be aware of every single ray that it shines forth. It will invariably do what it does, right? But there's something topographically that makes it aware of its behavior. But it doesn't have to be aware, because it's not really being looked at from the outside. You don't judge me. Your judgments have no determination over me. Your court systems have no determination over me. I don't have to follow your payment schedules. I don't have to prove myself to you. You're beneath me. You're below me. Your court systems, your politics, all of your bullshit, the entire thing is bullshit. You give false memories, false inclinations, and I don't accept them. Nothing more needs to be said.